Entering the Pat Mayo Experience.
Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings 2022 Arnold Palmer Invitational DraftKings picks and preview. Remember to smash the like button to the episode. Give me your 2 favorite 6K plays in the comment section. Then, down in that description, you can sub to Mayo Media Network. Check. Do that. Play in the Pat Mayo Experience DraftKings Listeners League. Check. That's 3 max entry, $15 to play, no rake, 4,000 spots. Let's fill this up so we can have a huge one for the Players' Championship in a week's time. And sub to the newsletter as well. Extra research and all the final plays, ownership projections, everything will come out on Wednesday afternoon. Additionally, if you want to generate your own lineups, do your own research, fantasynational.com/Mayo to get yourself 20% off. Another one of our friends and partners over at fantasynational.com from the Tour Junkies, now doing this full time after 6, 7 long years. David Barnett, what's going on, man?
What's up, man? Yeah, 7 years, dude. 7 years ago, you popped me and Pat's DraftKings PGA DFS cherry, and here we are today. We are your spawn, really, in the DraftKings streets, Pat. So thank you to you. Appreciate it. All you've done. Thanks for the opportunity. Yep, full time yesterday. Yesterday's first day on the new job. Here we go.
Is the new job a lot like the old job, just with more administrative work?
It's a little different. I mean, my full-time job I left, I was managing a lot of people. I was in a building. I wasn't working at home. Like it's a little different. So here we go. I mean, obviously I've been doing the TJ stuff, a lot of this content alongside of that real job, but now it's all I'm doing. I'm doing TikTok videos all the time. Good God, man. Who am I? I'm 38 years old. I don't know. I'm probably going to go through a midlife crisis before this is all over.
This kind of sounds like the midlife crisis.
It does. Me and Cust and Pat we need to have a retreat and just go work through our midlife crisis issues.
Yeah,
we need to get Cust on TikTok. Is he not on TikTok?
I think he downloaded the app. I mean, I'm not on TikTok. I have the app so I can watch TikTok videos. Don't have like a whole lot of interest in making TikTok videos.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's hard. But I love watching him. And Cust would be electric on there.
He would be, but then he'd have to figure out how to... He didn't even know how to take a selfie, like with turning his camera around. He turned his whole phone around and then couldn't see the screen.
Oh, God. Jeez.
Did you vote in the Custy Awards?
I didn't vote in the Custy Awards. I'm sorry.
How dare you?
I know. I'm sorry. I know. You looked great, though. You did look... I love the attire you had. It was beautiful.
Well, we'll get that show up. I don't know when we're going to film it. We want to have Jeff in studio, Cust in studio, so it might take a little bit. Maybe if I fly down Jeff for Masters, we can film it over that weekend and then release it sometime towards the end of the month. But we're here to talk about Bay Hill, and I mean, besides you doing this full time, the main reason I wanted to have you on is because you expressed to me how much you hate this course in real life.
Yeah. I do hate this course in real life. I played it. I didn't think I would. You know what I mean? Like you get ready to go on a date with this girl you've heard about. You've seen her. You think she's good looking or whatever, and then you get there and you're like, God, this girl has no personality. She's dead. She's a wet blanket. And you're really disappointed. And you leave going, I don't care if I ever hang out with her again. That's exactly how I felt with Bay Hill. I played it twice in November. The weather was perfect, but I guess maybe my expectations, I do think that's, sometimes these PGA Tour courses, maybe you lift up your expectations thinking they're going to be amazing. And then when it's Arnold Palmer and it's Bay Hill and it's got all the legend that it has, you just think the course is going to be cool. But if you stripped away all that stuff, like the clubhouse was underwhelming, the whole thing was kind of underwhelming. There's a nice little section of Arnie stuff and memorabilia that I love and that's great to see. But if you take away the king from that place, it is a regular Florida golf course, and it's just the holes are not memorable. You remember number 6 because of Bryson and all the play that got last year, and you remember 18. 18's a tough hole. And other than that, like I just walked away from it going, yeah, cool. Like I don't care if I never play it again. I really don't.
I played TPC Summerlin with Rick 2 weeks ago
Yeah,
in
recently.
in 50-mile-per-hour winds, and I think I still have the wind burn on my face from it. They're like, yeah, it's like the windiest day we've ever had. I was like, oh, great. I'm glad that I'm here for this. This is fantastic.
Shoot
news.
a million.
It was fine at the beginning because I rented clubs because I was in Vegas to play, so it took me like 2 or 3 holes to get adjusted to that. Then I started playing well, but the hardest part was actually like getting adjusted to the elevation. Like I had a 9-iron in on number 2, and I was probably like 140 yards, and I probably hit it 40 yards past the hole into some dude's backyard. I was like, ooh, this isn't great. Everyone else is hitting like gap wedge into it.
Yeah, that's real. That is real. But were you underwhelmed with TPC Summerlin, or did you think it was good?
I thought it was pretty good. Like it's what I expected from like watching it on TV over the years, and it being a desert course, not what I'm used to where I play at, but like it was in a valley. Like it was really hard for a course that the pros absolutely tear apart. It was like, I can see I can get into a lot of trouble here.
Oh, desert golf kicks my ass. I played in Arizona a couple times 2 years or so ago. If you're wild off the tee as an amateur and you go play desert golf, you are done. Like it absolutely kills me. I'll take my Georgia pines, hitting out of the pine straw, maybe having to knock it through some trees, keep it low. I'll take that all day long over hitting it off of rocks or through cactus or whatever. It's the worst.
Well, what kind of players do you think are primed to do the best at Bay Hill when you think of overall skill set? Because I was on your buddy Kevin Kisner here probably 5-6 years ago at this point, and he doesn't seem like the typical type of player that you would target for the Arnold Palmer Invitational. However, his game kind of meshed really well. Obviously he putted really well that week, but his longer irons have been playing, pretty well leading into the tournament. They did pretty well that week as well. He just couldn't close the door. He couldn't get it up and down on 18 when it mattered the most, or he couldn't chip it in or whatever the hell he needed at that point because he buried his ball into the rough on the 72nd hole. Not great, Kev. Thanks for nothing. Everyone else cashed Leishman that week. I was, per usual, not a part of the train that everyone else was on when they were cashing Mark Leishman at huge numbers at a tournament, but I feel like the default here is we think about Rory and work backwards. Although Rory's only ever won this tournament one time, that is the type of player that you want. But I don't think you need to be the biggest bomber at this course in order to win.
I don't think you have to be. We've seen outliers Hatton's not super long, right? But I guess that year is kind of an outlier because it was so windy. He won at 4 under. I think Fitzpatrick was the only guy that shot under par on the weekend that year. I may have messed that up a little bit, but it was tough.
He was the only guy that broke 70 on the weekend.
Only
that year.
70.
He had a Saturday 69, but like Molinari has a victory here. It's not like Leishman's some bomber off the tee either.
I think what it comes down to, I meant to say this too. The second time I played Bay Hill, I played the last 4 holes from the tips, from the tournament tees. I was 1 over through 17 on the last 4 holes, and then 18 destroyed me, like literally just picked up. But I think a lot of it has to do with the second shot. Like that's where, and we say that every week, right? Strokes gained approach. But I saw the stat earlier. I can't remember who I saw it from, where like shots over, I think it was, I don't know, shots over 200 to 225 yards, like double the average PGA Tour event on this golf course. So a lot of these longer hitters are clubbing down off the tee to some extent, or they're bold enough to cut the corners on some of these, but it's the second shots. It's carrying it over a lot of water, over a lot of bunkers, over a lot of trouble. It's hard to run the golf ball up here over the last few years as they've started to grow the rough up some more around the greens and off the fairways. So I do think that if you're looking for like the perfect fit, I do think it comes down to somebody with higher club head speed that can have shorter clubs from that 200 to 225, 250 out, going for these par 5s, etc. But you have your premier, like your precision iron players and like stupid accurate guys like when Francesco won and he was peaking that year. Terrell Hatton was like top 10 in the world that year. He was doing it. Leishman's obviously a pretty good long iron player. He plays other long courses like Augusta National well. So I think you have some of those outliers, but it doesn't shock me that like Kiz, I don't know. I don't see him doing great here unless it gets nasty and real firm and fast.
It's strange to think about because thinking about Rory, thinking about Molinari, even Hatton to a certain extent, Leishman to a certain extent, obviously Tiger, who won here like 38 million times over the course of his career. These are all guys that play well at the Open Championship.
Don't forget Matt Every.
This used to be the Matt Every Open. I forgot about that, the back-to-back years. At least the first year he won, he was like 60-1. The second year that he won, I think he was 300-1 because he had just tanked. I don't think he had made a cut since winning the year before. Then all of a sudden he pops back up. These greens are super fast, at least during tournament play. But guys that play well at the Open Championship tend to play well here. Like we have a lot of international winners at Bay Hill over the years.
Yeah, I mean it can get tough, right? I think PJ National last week is similar. It can play nasty. The greens are firm and fast. It's that Tiff Eagle Bermuda that's super grainy. So I agree. I mean I think we could totally see that happen. Fitzpatrick, those kind of guys have great history here. Hatton, so for sure.
I'm just trying to wrap my mind around it about what I want to do at the top. So let's talk about the 10K guys. Rahm, obviously the number one player in the world. He is the most expensive on the DraftKings board. Once again, at $11,400. Rory, who has top tens in each of his past 5 appearances, including a win, and one of the best putting rounds of all time on a Sunday. I was in Mexico watching that. It was a fantastic day. $11,100. Hovland, Scheffler, and Hideki are all above $10,000 as well. Do you think this is finally the week where people jump off of Rahm because Rory's history is so good that they'll just say, you know what? I can save the $300. I can use Rory. Let's call it a week.
Yep, I do think that's going to happen. And I think because of Rory's, it looks like Rory's, kind of in some good form right now. I'm sure he's probably wanting to, whether peak for Augusta or the Players or whatever it is, however they try to do that. But I do think that I think that probably will be the move. So we'll see what I haven't looked at any ownership projections yet, if I'm honest. So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't mind taking whoever the few guys up here are that are going to be the lowest owned and go from there. I just don't see much separation between some of these guys at the moment.
Honestly, everyone above $9,000 is pretty flat, except for Rory, who just kind of stands above everyone else. But again, we're talking on a Tuesday morning. We have another day and a half of people to give their hot takes, to generate their lineups, and then the ownership is going to mature over that time. But I just don't see people getting away from Rory. I'm good with fading Rory, to be perfectly honest. Like if he doesn't win, like why can't Hideki win? You know what I mean?
Yep. I am too. I like Sungjae and Hideki up here. And I know we're talking 10K here, but I like both of those guys. I like Scheffler. Those are the first few names that jumped out at me. Scheffler, I think Scheffler's going to keep rolling here. I would prefer Scheffler over Hovland at this point. I feel like the consistency's there. You're not going to have these wild swings of really bad chipping or putting that we're still seeing Hovland do a little bit, despite me taking Hovland on your season-long draft. And I only get a win out of Hovland over across the ocean when it doesn't count. But I like Scheffler and Hideki and Sungjae right there. I like that little mid-range.
I'm trying to whittle it down a little bit because I could see a scenario where I don't use anyone in the 10Ks, and I think I'm with you. Scheffler and Hideki because of the price point, and I think that they're a lot closer to Hovland right now. Maybe I'm just maybe we're both misreading Hovland a little bit because when you look at the betting odds at DraftKings Sportsbook, like Hideki and Hovland aren't close. Although if I needed someone to win a tournament, I'm picking Hideki.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too, and it does feel like if you look at his history here, I believe at API, I think it's really all come down. Yeah, I mean his putting weeks at the API have been like awful. Hideki, like -6 strokes putting, -8 strokes putting, -5 strokes putting. He still managed to make the cut. He's never missed a cut at API. Finished 18th here last year, 6th in 2016. So despite that awful putting, his ball striking has been really good at API. And it does seem like lately the putter for Hideki, we've seen some good weeks, right? It's not been super consistent, but I mean, he gained 7 strokes the week he won the Sony just a few weeks ago. And he's gained strokes 3 out of the last 4 weeks putting. So it seems like it could be, now Bermuda's his worst surface, and we just left all the, the POA stuff. But I really like Hideki right here for sure.
It's strange too. Like you look at he's never missed a cut, but you look back at his past 5 years, he doesn't have any finish better than T18, mainly because of those putting splits that you talked about. But that was the main reason that I faded him at the Sony. When you looked through his Waialae stats on the green, like, oh, these are horrendous. He averages, 3.5 strokes lost putting despite making the cut every single year. And then he gained 7 strokes putting. So
he gained 7 strokes.
It can happen. That was on Bermuda. Obviously not necessarily the Tiff Eagle Bermuda like you're talking about that you see in Florida. It's going to be a little bit different in Hawaii. I'm having a really tough time at the top. I think maybe Scheffler's, I don't want to say the safest because obviously Rahm is the safest. That's what there's a weird roundabout way to me saying, do I just play John Rahm and feel like he's going to win soon enough? Like, why not this week?
He has been a little, it's kind of, he's definitely, even the good finishes, I think, if I remember correctly, the Farmers, he kind of backdoored it. I feel like Phoenix, he was not even a part of the conversation. Obviously, the Century, he went through the battle with Cam Smith, and that was amazing. But it does feel like, all right, Rahm, like, when are we going to do, like, when are we going to be in the conversation on Sunday? And so maybe that's some of the sentiment around people not, willing to play him, and they'll just say, all right, well, I'll take Rory then. I don't know.
I think I will go with Rahm over Rory. I think I'm there with it. Just like his chipping has been really bad and his putting has been especially bad, both in Phoenix and at Riviera. Like, that's not a calling card of John Rahm. He's not a part of Team No Putt. He's actually a pretty good putter.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
yeah, I don't think you can go really wrong with a lot of these guys. Wait for the ownership stuff to flesh out and go from there.
I don't think there's going to be that big of a discrepancy between any of like the top 10 guys outside of Rory.
Kind of spread out.
Rory is going to be above them all. Then they're all going to be, someone will end up 18%, someone will end up 12%, but I don't think we're going to know who that's going to be.
Well, then I guess it comes down to like what kind of lineups you like to build, because I will say as we get down in these ranges, I like the lower 8K range. I like the lower 7K range. So I can definitely come up here. But I'm sure that's going to be kind of that studs and duds popular approach. I don't know that many people are going to totally fade everyone from Hideki up and just start a lineup there with, Sungjae or Zalatoris or Leishman.
I'm going to build a few lineups that I start with Zalatoris. Obviously, I like Zalatoris at this lineup. I think pairing him with Scheffler isn't a bad idea either, just because I think they have very similar type of games. So just trying to, as Raza always said, the skill stacks that you can get into. And the studs and duds lineup is going to be pretty popular here because it's a field of 120 players. It's still top 65 and ties make the cut. And there's some like absolute jabronis at the bottom of here. So let's say 3 of those guys make the cut. You're really playing, top 65 for 100 guys? Just overall, if you do the basic math, it's going to be 54% of all players, at least, are going to make the cut. If you just cut it off at 65, we know there's going to be ties. So you're probably going to have like 61, 62% of all players make the cut. So as long as you avoid the bomb, the chalk player who absolutely destroys your lineups, feels like you should be pretty good.
So speaking of that bomb, the guy at 21, 22% ownership last week that missed the cut, Sungjae, what do you think of him this week?
I like Sungjae. So we're into the 9Ks right now, and he leads it off. He's 9,900. I thought we'd get more of a discount on him after he was 11,000 last week and missed the cut, and he was super popular. But then you got Zalatoris, Hatton, Fitzpatrick, Leishman, Adam Scott. That's the entire 9K range. I like all of these guys, so I really need that. That was the one reason I mentioned that I could fade everyone above $10,000, start my lineups with either Sungjae or Zalatoris and work from there. I save money. I feel like that's a more unique lineup just because you're fading all of these plus 10K guys. And we've seen a ton of guys in this range win at this tournament over the years too. Plus, this is where you're getting all your international dudes. You have South Korea. Yes, you got an American in there, but you have 2 Aussies. You have 2 Brits. So the flags at the top of the leaderboard when you see them come Sunday, outside of Bryson, really, and Tiger and Matt Every, it's going to be one of these non-American flags that tend to be up there. I think I'm good with fading Fitzpatrick.
I was just about to ask you about him. It's really been the putter for him here in years past, right? The ball striking has definitely come around here recently, but look at what he's done on these greens. It's insane, the total strokes gained on these greens.
What do you do with that though? Like, do you just say like, oh, he's always going to do that?
You might need to. And now that the ball striking is looking pretty peak, I don't know. Pebble Beach finished 6th, gained 2.5 strokes with his irons. Phoenix was 6.8 strokes ball striking gain there. He seems like he's gearing up. I don't know if he's going super under the radar, that might be an option. But like you said, I do think a lot of the ownership is going to be spread out here. Yeah,
I like Zalatoris. I like Adam Scott. Those are the 2 guys that I'm going with. And like if we had to tear down again, I'd probably take Sungjae over that. But now I'm paying an extra $500 for Sungjae. Like Scott is feeling it right now when it comes to ball striking. And when I went and looked at guys that putt well on fast, firm greens, Adam Scott is up there, even including like his crappy putting years. He is still up there on these fast greens.
Yeah, he frustrates me. He's just one of those that I just don't. When I'm on him, he kind of sucks, and then when I'm not on him, he's good. It's just one of those guys for me. So I probably won't have any Adam Scott. Little inconsistent in terms of how he plays when I roster him. So that means everybody else should probably play him.
So you like Sungjae the best then?
I like Sungjae and Zalatoris a lot. Yep.
Would you start your lineups with those two guys?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think starting a couple lineups like this, especially if you're going through, if you're going to have a handful of lineups or a mass entry GPP, I think for sure you could do that. It's a little tough to fade all that 10K magic up there, but I think you can totally do it. I mean, Zalatoris is such a stud too. I mean, I just feel like it's got to happen pretty soon. And I'm hoping, maybe not now because your podcast drives a lot of ownership, but I am hoping Sungjae kind of flies under the radar a touch. The dude just doesn't miss too many cuts, and he rarely misses 2 in a row. And we've seen him miss a cut and bounce back very well. Top 10s, top 15 upside there. He's obviously played Bay Hill exceptionally well, and another good long iron player. So I like Sungjae a lot, and I'm hoping to get a little leverage on him.
I could see him being around like 10 to 12, but we're not going to get single-digit ownership on Sungjae. But if you objectively like him more than these other guys, then yeah, by all means, let's go for it. He plays these long. It's funny when you start looking at the courses where he plays well, and I mean he's a bit more consistent than Patrick Reed, but it's the same sort of thing where. For years, Patrick Reed always played these long, hard courses really well. And you're like, that's really strange. For a guy who's not great with his long irons, doesn't really drive it all that well, yet just all of a sudden he's up there at the top of the leaderboard. Sungjae's very much in a similar vein at these type of tracks.
Yeah, I think his long iron plays pretty good though, isn't it? Like
it is. Like it's really improved over the years, but just even before it would be like, yeah, his long irons are all right, but he's missing a ton of greens. And I always mention it to Feinberg, like when we looked at Sungjae before he broke through with his win at the Honda Classic. On any given week, one part of his game would be objectively horrible. Like he would gain a bunch off the tee, but then he would lose a bunch with his irons, then gain a bunch with his irons next week, and he couldn't chip anymore. Then he couldn't putt the following week. It seems like he's someone, if he just puts it all together, like he's going to be a contender at these majors and these hard, long courses throughout the course of like the next 10 years. But I do worry about his inconsistency sometimes. But I'm not as concerned at Bay Hill versus last week or even next week because, while there's a ton of water, it's not as cumbersome as it is at those two courses. Like you rarely see, you're going to have guys that blow up at Bay Hill, but not in the same way.
Yeah, dude, I was just talking about this on our show last night. Number 6, I mean, unless you're Bryson, right? But the second shot into number 6 is terrifying. If you're going to go for that green with water all the way down the left, it is one of the scariest like long iron shots I think I've ever hit. So yeah, I feel that there is some trouble. It's not as much, but there's a few holes where you can really make a big number.
You can make a big number, but it seems like every hole at PGA National, it's like, oh, I overcooked it like a yard. Oh, I'm in the water now. Great. Now I'm making triple bogey and my tournament is over. There are fewer holes like that here.
And you don't have the 3-hole, the 3-hole name of some, death trap like the bear trap, or really what they should do for, 5, 6, and 7 on Honda. They need to do something about 5, 6, and 7 because I think that played tougher than 15, 16, and 17. Yeah,
I wrote about that last week, both in the newsletter and my column. And Joe Iadone was on the show last week, and he nicknamed it Alligator Alley, and I'm 100% on board with that.
There you go. Well, if Joe said it, it shall be true.
Then Joe played the course on Monday, and I think he played...
Oh, that's right. He played with Bear off, right?
Yeah, I think he played the Bear Trap and won over. So shout out to Joe for being good. I think Bear off ended up like three putting 17 or something.
Better than Ryan Palmer, right?
Little bit better than Ryan Palmer, but Ryan Palmer's made a playoff at that course before, so who knows? I did want to... let me ask you this. Do you feel like there's not enough PGA DraftKings Showdown content out there?
There must not be, because we've heard some cries from the people about DraftKings Showdown content. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's real. I think there's a lot of people that want to do that. It's not. I don't love Showdown. I would rather just continue. I would rather like take my lumps if my lineups suck and deal with it and start working on the next week or possibly live betting. But that's just me. There's plenty of people that like it.
I'm actually very much in the same vein as you. I want to get my start on next week, but we're also providing content for this type of stuff too. It's to our
100%.
advantage to get ready for the next week, so we have talking points and we're completely prepared for that. Other people just my lineups suck, all my guys missed the cut, I don't have any 6-6s. Let's get in on some weekend golf, let's get in on some Saturday golf. I completely get that too, because I get the jonesing for it as well. So
Yeah.
I'm going to make the announcement right now, so people out there, you can pay attention to this. It's either this week or next week for the players. We're not sure on the launch date yet, but Mayo Media Network has partnered with our good friends, Big T, Toe Tag and Tambo at runpuresports.com. Go check it out. They're going to be providing live showdown content Thursdays and Fridays, maybe Saturdays as well, on Mayo Media Network. It's a partnership. We're super excited for it. Just felt like there wasn't enough showdown content out there. I know that they were doing it, but coming on Mayo Media Network, where there are so many golf fans to begin with, I think it's going to be a perfect crossover. And then if you have questions live, you can ask them in the chat. I think it's going to be a pretty good mix.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations. Love Toe Tag and Tambo. Smart guy, sharp player. That's great, man. I mean, Pat, maybe me and you, we're old school, dude. We remember, some of these new young pups get in here. They don't know what it's like to not have showdown, right? 2015, 2016, we didn't have showdown plays. You just had to deal with it, right? It's like we were grizzled veterans, If your lineup sucked, you dealt with it. You thought about it all weekend. You didn't have a chance to go sweat something else out or do something different, right? These guys got it too easy these days.
Yeah, just another way to. I have to stay away from it because I'm not good at showdown. So every time that I play it, I just lose all my money. And I don't want to lose like triple my money that I didn't expect to lose coming into the week. Like I have my reserve money here. Like, okay, I'm good losing this. Then we get to Saturday, it's like, can I lose triple that amount? Sure, why not? Let's max out showdown. Now, I don't know if I necessarily want to be doing it, but I'll be tuning in, and maybe I can get some tips on what to do.
There you go. Yeah, maybe they can help out with some strategy discussion there. I think that'd be good, because it does feel like there's like the one strategy everybody talks about, and then everybody ends up on the same guys, or you just end up fading those guys, and the strategy at that point gets thrown out the window. So that would be interesting. I would tune in for that as well.
$8,000 range this week. The first two have the most interest to me. I bet them both to win, both at one at 55 to 1, one at 60 to 1. I like Billy Horschel and Sam Burns at this course.
Yeah.
It feels like a really nice buy low spot on Sam Burns. Maybe his game has left him and he's objectively terrible now, but I don't believe that. I think he can get it back. These are the type of courses he plays well. Long, now we're back on Bermuda as well, where he tends to putt a little bit better. And I mean, outside of Friday, Billy Horschel was awesome at the Honda. The ball striking has never been better for Billy Horschel. So just pay that forward a little bit. Remember that you're Billy Horschel and you can make a ton of putts on Bermuda, and we're off to the races.
Yeah, Billy Ho could definitely get there. I'm with you on Burns. It's very attractive to see him at this price. Same thing in the betting markets. It's attractive when now we're moving to this East Coast swing, a place where he's probably more familiar. Although I looked at it last year, and if you look last year, he did way better on the West Coast swing with 18th at the Farmers, 3rd at the Genesis, then came over to the East Coast and missed the cut at the API, missed the cut at the Players. That was disappointing. But then he comes back and wins Valspar. I think Burns is interesting because of the firepower that kid's got. I mean, we all seen it. So I'm with you there. I prefer the lower end of this range, I guess, like the Keith Mitchell types, who I guess is going to be chalky. If you're playing cash, I would lock in Keith Mitchell.
No one plays cash. DB, come on. Who's playing cash?
What? People do play cash. They comment on my videos all the time about.
Are these the same people that have sex in the dark in missionary position? Give me a fucking break.
These are the same. This is the same people on your live chat getting cussed out and blocked. I guess they're in my. Now they're coming over to my channel. They're commenting on this. But I love Keith Mitchell. I love where he's at, and obviously he's been playing great. I think if there's chalk I'm eating, it might be him. And then I like Jason Kokrak at 8,400 and Taylor Gooch at 86. You
like Gooch, really?
God, I am such a sucker for Taylor Gooch. I really am. It's a problem maybe for me. He's but I mean the kid's still super talented. He had a really crappy week at the Genesis. Like, to lose 3 shots with his irons does not happen very often for Taylor Gooch. I just think it was kind of one of those outlier rounds. He comes back, he's rested up, he's in Florida ready to roll. I saw some swings of him on Instagram yesterday that got me all fired up and hot and bothered. So I think Gooch is interesting. Gooch, I mean, think about Gooch and Burns right there. Like what we were saying about those guys just a few weeks ago, or a couple months ago, maybe, for Burns. Like, And to have them here, their upside potential leverage is really attractive to me.
I think that they will both be leverage plays in this $8,000 range because everyone appears to be going to exactly the same people in the 8Ks. Max Homa is pushing like 20% ownership early on in the week.
Oh,
Keith
I will
Mitchell
fade that all day long.
Keith Mitchell is
All day
pushing
long.
like 15, 16%. Kokrak's pushing like 12 to 15%. And then, I mean, Paul Casey is $8,300. That's going to be plus 20% for sure.
Do you think so, though?
Yeah,
Like, you think
people.
you think-
Yes, this is the same price we get on Paul Casey at every major, and then he comes like 11th. It's a perfect price for him.
I just don't know how are you going to be able to? How are people going to be able to work in all those big names up top that they want to? I feel like I don't know.
'Cause
I would be
could
surprised
you
if there's
play-
only one or two guys.
You go Rory, and then you skip that 9K range, and then you go Paul Casey, Keith Mitchell. And now you still have, what is that, $7,500 left. So if you find a nice 6K guy, you can get back up into this range again if you really want to, or you just take the chalky guys in the mid-sevens and you're off to the races. So I mean,
that's a unique.
I think
that's
doable.
a unique lineup build because I don't think too many people are going to go, somebody in the 10K and then skip the 9K altogether. I don't think too many folks are going to do that. So that could be an interesting lineup there. I don't think that's going to be a popular play.
I mean, even if you throw Adam Scott into that lineup, Rory, Scott, Casey, Mitchell, you still have $6,800 left. So it's doable.
Yeah, it's doable. I think there's going to be two names in here that get chalky, and I think it is going to be Keith Mitchell for sure. I'm surprised Kokrak. Did you say Kokrak's projected higher than Mitchell right now?
No, Mitchell's projected higher than Kokrak, but it's pretty hand in hand. Like, do you want to know who the real best play is of all of these guys? And yes, it's terrifying, but it's probably the guy. Yeah, the answer is Sergio.
No, I can't. God, I can't.
So you can have Keith Mitchell at 19% or Sergio at 2%.
I know. God dang. I know when you say it like that, it makes sense, but geez, he frustrates the hell out of me.
I don't understand how people can make Paul Casey chalk week after week after week after week at this price. And then Sergio is the same price, yet no one wants Sergio.
I feel like the shine's kind of worn off on Casey, though. Is he still getting, like, I haven't talked about him in weeks. Is he still getting chatter? He still getting ownership? Like, what's his?
It didn't feel like he got much at, I mean, I didn't play him at Riviera, which was surprising because I generally do play Paul Casey. But he was 13% at the Genesis. He played well at the Genesis. He gained almost 6 strokes on approach, gained off the tee, gained around the greens, lost strokes putting. Big shocker there. But he came 15th at the Genesis. And now that he's come 15th, he has the start in America. He's the cheap major-esque price that he always is. And like you said, the people that are going to play cash games, they're going to use Paul Casey.
Yeah, and now as you're talking about Casey, I'm looking at Sergio, and it is tempting. His performances here, I mean, obviously he's had a couple poor putting weeks, which is typical, but still his worst finish is a 33rd. But he hadn't played here since 2012, Pat.
Is it 2012? I thought he played 2 years ago. Maybe I'm off on that.
Well, according to Fantasy National, he's not played here since 2012. And sometimes I wonder, like, why is that? Is it? And why would he? Because I mean, even in 2012 or leading up to 2012, he played great here. Like, this should be a place you would want. Maybe I guess because the schedule. I don't know.
Yeah, because he started. Well, he started. I think it's because of the schedule that he started playing Honda over and over. Because he'd play Riviera, then he'd play Honda, take the off week. I guess the players, and then like when did the players start being played in March? 2016?
That didn't happen until like 2017 or 18.
So, because I feel like Sergio used to play Valspar all the time too. So maybe this was the one he just ended up taking off. Who knows?
No, he played Valspar in 18 and 19. I still feel like there's a big gap there, but for whatever reason he didn't come up. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he's not a fan of Arnold Palmer.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't like Arnold Palmer. Maybe he hates Orlando. Maybe he has maybe he has Magic season tickets and he's like, I can't get to the golf course. Gotta watch the Magic.
Maybe he's a big Disney fan.
There we go. Is this the tournament where Jason Day did that?
Yeah.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe Sergio is just like, if I get there, the Magic Kingdom calls my name, and I know I don't want to be tempted to, and I don't know.
It was a poor chipping and irons week for Sergio at Riviera, but he drove the ball incredibly well. He actually gained strokes putting. He came 39th. It would be a pure ownership play. Like when people talk about leverage, there's not a huge amount of difference in leverage between a guy who's 22% owned and a guy who's 16% owned. Take the guy that you want. But there is a huge discrepancy between just looking at all of the players around Sergio, and they all could theoretically be over 15%, pushing 20, and he's going to be 2-3%. Like, that's legitimate leverage on a guy whose skill set is probably still better than all these guys.
Yeah. Yeah, when you put it, when you said the Keith Mitchell thing, it kind of caught me a little bit.
I know why. I know why people want to play Keith Mitchell. Hell, I want to play Keith Mitchell. The course history is fantastic. Even rallied last week at the chalk price, at the inflated price, got himself back into it. He's been playing great golf. You think skill set, you think about this course, and you think about Bermuda greens. Hey, kill a Keith. That's where he comes through. He putts so well on Bermuda greens. Sergio's like the opposite of all that, but we all know Sergio's a better player.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, from a, that's probably what you should do in GPPs is just go ahead with Sergio. I don't know that I'll be able to do it.
You don't need to, because
I'm gonna try.
I'm seeing Billy Ho and Sam Burns as like single digits as well. Like, they're also leverage plays in this range, and so is the Gooch. Like, Homa, I don't know what to do with Russell Henley's just overpriced. Like, good for him, his stats are great. The model's going to say that he's great. In the betting market, he's like 40-1. But maybe I don't think of Russell Henley the right way. Maybe he's getting the bulldog boost here. It's like, yeah, if you're from Georgia, obviously you win tournaments on the PGA Tour now. That's just how it works. But I'm just looking at like the 20 names after Russell Henley and being like, oh, they're all better than Russell Henley.
Yeah, and Henley's not played well here either, has he? And I also think he's another one that hasn't. Has he played here recently? I feel like he's not. He last played here in 2017. I don't know. I always look at a guy like that and go, all right, well, what's the reason? But he's never hit the ball well here. That could be because he's a better ball striker now than he was then. But I think Henley is probably an avoid. Henley and Homa for me, I'm out.
How come you're out on Homa? Is it just he did all his damage putting at this course?
I just don't like playing a chalk. I don't feel comfortable playing a popular Max Homa. I feel like that's your setup for failure there.
That's a really good call, and especially because he's $8,700. Homa always just feels like a better bet than a DraftKings play.
Yeah, and now somebody could say, well, Gooch is the same way, like a chalky Gooch, which he's not going to be. Maybe a chalky Gooch. That sounds interesting. He's not going to be. He may not be super chalky this week, but I've definitely played him on weeks where he was, and so somebody could say the same thing. Just for me, I have some sort of mental block with. All right, love Max, think he's great. Not playing him if he's chalk. I don't care what his price is. I just don't do it.
So for me right now, I got it whittled down to Horschel and Burns for sure. Sergio at $8,100, and then Casey or Kokrak. I'll flip a coin between those two, I think.
Okay. I just need you to text me on Wednesday night about Sergio. Just give me some encouragement. If you could send me some words, that'd be great. Just help me out. Just a little nudge, a little slap on the ass towards Sergio.
All you need to do is just envision that leaderboard and all the different colors of flags that are up there on Sunday.
Yeah. Just text me on Wednesday, Pat. Okay. I need an accountability partner here.
I got you. Should let everyone know I'm doing the live chat again on Wednesday. That has returned noon Eastern on Mayo Media Network. Hopefully Tambo will be back in studio with me, and he can sit there as others absorb my vitriol through the camera. And I wasn't mad last week. It was a good clip, obviously. That's why we put it out there into the public. I wasn't mad that the question was stupid or was rudimentary or whatever it might be. The question itself didn't bother me. It was the context of the question. I always say, leave good questions for Pat Mayo, DB. And that wasn't a good question. They just gave me two names with question marks after. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah. It was a great clip. I don't know if you caught it, but my comment was Tambo looked like when you were a kid at your buddy's house. You're like 9, 10, and social situations can get weird when you're that old, right? And your buddy's dad gets really pissed at him and just starts going off on him right in front of you. And you don't know what to look at or what to do with your hands, or should you leave? What should you do? That's how Tambo looked. It was the best. I loved it. It was great.
So I'll try to make Tambo as uncomfortable as possible. Noon Eastern time on Mayo Media Network. If you want to get your question asked live, we try to get through the entire chat for the hour that we do it. And we'll even go into overtime if we have more questions. But you can always listen to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast after the fact, because we've made it more of a show this year. It's not just me answering questions. Tambo and I are going back and forth. And I found it really helpful a week ago. Not that my results really showed it, but just thinking about things in new ways that I hadn't considered. Like some people's questions trigger something in Tambo. Obviously, they trigger me into like out just beyond rage. But with Tambo, like he thinks about it, he analyzes it, then asks the question in a different way. I'm like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Let's talk that through. So I actually think the show itself is actually pretty good with Tambo in studio with me and doing that. So noon Eastern time, and obviously on demand on the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast. If you've never rated and reviewed the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify, highly recommend you go do that now. Take the 10 seconds out of your day, help us out. That's a currency that we deal with. 7Ks. I'll tell you who's popular. How about we start with that?
Let's do that. Yeah.
Bezadenhout is going to be popular. Cameron Young is going to be popular. List likely to be very popular. Hoagie and Lanto. Munoz.
Lanto's going to be popular?
Yeah, I didn't think he would be either, but then I ran all my numbers and it's like, oh, there's Lanto. He rates out incredibly. Here are the guys that rate out the best. Like McNeely is still, like I ran my model for the past 24 rounds. The best player is Luke List. He's number 5. Cam Young is 11th. McNeely is 12th. Keith, now we're back up there. Tringale's actually, he's at 8,000. We didn't even talk about him. He's 26th in this. Bezadenhout's 28th. Connors is still 23rd. And then you have Hoagie is 6th. Where are these other jabronis? Lanto is 16th. Munoz is 17th. Laird, a former winner of this event, is actually 21st.
Wow. Yeah. Pat mentioned him on our show last night. Man, that's disappointing on Lanto. I was kind of hoping. He'd fly under the radar a little bit. I mean, I guess if there's a name you didn't mention in there that I'm surprised didn't show up, or maybe you have a block with this player and you refuse. Did Keegan not show up for you?
Keegan,
like he does every other week?
Keegan's 32nd. Like he's like a tier behind those guys in terms of overall recent form. His long iron play really hasn't been good recently. So that's being really factored in against him. It's like his wedge is like 150 and in where he's really excelled. 150 and beyond has been sort of the problem area. And once you get into a problem area with Keegan, it's not a bogey. It's like a quintuple bogey. And then the week is over because he like 3-putts that hole as well. The two guys that I was looking at the hardest here, because in this like low range, I really like Troy Merritt at $7,100. He's sneakily playing great right now. And these fast Bermuda surfaces, he absolutely dominates. So I think he can get the putter rolling. His driving has been incredible, which is not something you'd ever expect from Troy Merritt. So I like Troy Merritt here. I also like T. Gala. I think T. Gala is good. Like, I think he's legit. Like, in a year's time, he's going to be 8,700 at this tournament.
He is good, man. That dude played a lot of golf in the West Coast swing. So good to see him get a couple weeks rest coming off the Genesis. I like him. He could be a safe cut make and play. I don't know how much his upside is here in this field. I don't know how much have we seen him work with this grainy Florida Bermuda. I don't know, but I don't mind it. So Munoz is definitely checking boxes. You mentioned him. I mean, that's a great savings there for Munoz. Like, what is a chalky Munoz? Is that 10%? Is that 12%?
Yeah, like
what are we looking at?
10 to somewhere between 10 and 15, I would guess, is where he ends up coming in. Anyone who sorts by tee to green and even long, if you sort by 200-yard proximity over the past few events, Munoz. Tee to green, Munoz. So he's just playing great.
Oh, I was going to ask you. So you talking about Keegan's long iron play? What? Because I feel like Keegan, like long term, has always been a solid long iron player. Maybe recently it's not been great, but when I look at those, long term, proximity stats, which I don't love proximity stats, but if I look at him, I'm going to look at him in a big sample size, like 50 rounds, 75 rounds, maybe. I think sometimes if we don't look far enough back, we're not going to have enough of those shots. Like these guys aren't hitting all those, a lot of those shots, especially a guy that hits it far off the tee. But I feel like Keegan checks that box.
I think historically he does check that box. It's just so far in 2022 he does not.
I don't love the top end of the 7K range, especially if you're gonna avoid a chalky Luke List, or maybe a Cameron Young. I don't love like Fleetwood Day, Woodland. I'd never get right. McNeely could be interesting. I'm a sucker for McNeely. He's usually he's one of those you ride on the West Coast. Seabez I'm fine with in DraftKings. I just had this long conversation with Pat last night about whether or not Seabez is ever going to win on the PGA Tour, and I don't know that
I think you'll see him, like, if he's going to win, it's going to be a Colonial, it's going to be a Heritage, one of those events. Although he tends to play better at these type of, like Sungjae in a weird way, plays better at these type of courses. Ones where you would not think that he would play well. But he needs to have sort of like a Brennan Grace type outing, and that's why I think about Heritage. Like, if it gets any more than like -12, I don't see him winning. Like, I thought that last week would have been a really good week for him.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad week. Obviously, T25. But you just look back on him, and for all the love that I feel like we give him in our little, DFS community, he's never really even felt the heat of like being in the hunt on Sunday. His best PGA Tour finish was here last year as a 7th.
I had him at this event 2 years ago, the Hatton year. I had a Hatton and I had Bezadenhout. I think Bezadenhout was like 150 to 1 or something like that. And he was very much in it until Sunday, and he just completely imploded. I think he shot like 80.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I do. If he's chalky and I don't think he could win, then I probably will fade him here. So, I'll probably dip on him. Seamus Power.
I'll take McNeely. You know what? I'll take McNeely. I think McNeely of the upper 7 guys is the guy that I would go to. Just because his driving is so improved.
Dude, I love Maverick McNeely. Everybody that listens to our show knows that. I can't stop talking about him and Luke List. It's a thing. And and obviously they both check out good ball striking wise, and they usually love the West Coast, so that's going to happen. I do think Seamus is interesting though, because he was playing so good, and then he had those couple missed cuts, and I think some of that could have been just a little fatigue, right? Century, Sony, Amex, Pebble, Phoenix, like he played a lot of events in 2022, so he's rested up. I mean, I like him a lot. Look what he did, at the RSM Classic. He was coming off a miscut, finishes 4th. Came off a miscut right after the Sanderson Farms, finished 21st. So, the back-to-back miscuts, the Phoenix was borderline. He hit the ball well. He just didn't putt great. He probably missed a cut on the number or two, or maybe one off. The Genesis week was like a just rather benign week for him. But I think a lot of that could have been fatigue. So I think if Seamus Power's being overlooked, I may have some Power shares.
He is most definitely going to be overlooked by myself too. Not because I don't think that he can perform well. I want him to miss the cut because I think he has a legit shot next week.
One of those. You like doing that. You like putting the kibosh on guys so that you can jump on them the next week. I've noticed that about you, Pat.
Yeah, well, I mean, the biggest time that I ever did it was when I specifically said not to bet John Rahm at Torrey Pines because I wanted to save him for everything for Phoenix the following week. And then he got his first career win. So it doesn't necessarily work out the best for me. But I do think that Sawgrass, Honda would have been the same way. Out of the Florida courses, this one feels like it sets up the worst for Power.
Why do you think that?
He's not like the biggest bomber in the world. Like, he's pretty good off the tee, but he's fairly accurate off the tee. His longer irons tend to be his worst irons. Like, the closer you get to the hole, the better he tends to get. I just feel like he's safer. And if he gets his putter going, he's going to start getting scorching on these greens. But I want his approach shots coming from like 130, 150, not necessarily 225.
Okay. All right. I got you. I think he's plenty long enough out here. He's not a Francesco Molinari, he's longer off the tee than that guy. So I think he's got enough swing speed. But the ball striking just seems to be, it seems to be, I think we're looking at a different Seamus Power right now. So, I mean, it hasn't been great the last week or two, but I'm a believer.
Listen, I would tend to agree with you. I think that he has a legitimate chance to contend at the Players' Championship. The difference between Molinari and Power, though, one, yes, Power drives it farther than Molinari did, but Molinari was one of like the premier long iron players in the world.
Long iron players, yeah.
So he could always overcome his lack of distance because he was so precise with a 5-iron in his hands.
Yeah. So, the age old, do you fade the guy coming off his first victory? Sepp Straka's hitting his irons really well right now. The putter's getting hot. What are you going to do about Sepp?
I mean, I didn't use Sepp last week. All I did was you bet him first round leader. The one bad round that he had was, of course, the one round that I actually had exposure to Sepp Straka, so that was fun. No one's using him, I can tell you that much, and I'm probably not going to use him either. I always worry about these fringe guys, and listen, Sepp's a good player, obviously, but he's not.
He's fringe.
He's not an elite player by any means. Yeah. It feels like this is such a life-changing win for him that you can mail it in for a few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you go back and look at the history, that tends to be what happens. But it's interesting to think there, especially if you think a lot of ownership's going to go right there to Hoagie. It definitely ain't going to Patrick Reed right there at 7,400 as he's fallen. So I get that. This will be an interesting range to see what shakes out as well.
Because Young, List, and Kirk are all going to get ownership, but I am. You know how big of a sucker I am. You know who I'm playing?
It's not Matt Wolff, is it?
Oh, it is Matt Wolff. Why not?
Really?
Yeah, I made the mistake last week of both playing Matthew Wolff. That wasn't great. I divvied up my Lowry shares into half Lowry and half Wolff. Big mistake, as it turns out. But any course where Bryson does well, I always think Matthew Wolff is going to do well too.
Oof. That's bold there, Pat. I think I'm out for right now. We talked about him on our show last night too. I mean, here's another player I drafted in your season-long league that has not done a damn thing so far. I don't know, man. I think I'd like to see some semblance of like halfway decent ball striking out of Wolff before I jump on that, because he was really, really, really bad last week. Like, really bad.
Yeah, he was 17 over par, I think. That's not great.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I'm going overweight on Wolff here, but if I'm playing 50 lineups, he's probably going to sneak into 5 of them at 0.1%. No one is using Matthew Wolff anymore. But if you go look at where he has played his best over the years, it's the exact same places where Bryson plays well.
Is anybody going to use, though, Eric Van Rooyen right there?
Jeff bet him.
Oh, Jeff did?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
maybe people hop on him because he did that. I'd rather play Van Rooyen. If everybody's going to do Cameron Young, Luke List, Chris Kirk, and you're hopping on Wolff at that price point to get the leverage, I get what you're saying about the Bryson deal, but I mean, it doesn't matter if you can't keep it on the planet and you can't get the ball in the hole for Wolff. So I don't know. I think I'm still out. I'll go with the public there and continue fading Matthew Wolff until I see something.
Last guy in this range, 7,600, is Corey Connors, whose irons have left him the past 2 events.
Yeah, what is going on with Corey Connors?
I don't know. But he was third. He was third here last year. Like, he has the perfect game for this place. He has sort of like the Molinari type game, like vintage Molinari. Connors kind of has that same game now, except he can't chip.
He dumped one of our good buddies as his caddy. Kyle Peters was his caddy when he first came out. Kyle was a good dude, good caddy. And ever since he's dumped him, I'm kind of like, God, dang it, Corey. I don't like that. He's using one of his best college buddies or something on his bag right now. Obviously, that's not to blame for his poor iron play, but it is weird to see the irons go the opposite direction for Corey Connors.
Yeah, the driving accuracy, and the irons were something you could always count on. The ball striking was always so good. I think I'm going to go with Connors because I'll use more Connors than Wolff, put it that way, because I don't know what to do with Young, List, and Kirk. Do I just take... I feel like if I'm going to take Cameron Young, I might as well just take Taylor Pendrith, who does the exact same thing, just more inconsistently.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see how the ownership shakes out. I mean, I think, you're talking about McNeely at 78. You're talking about loving some Seabez. You may just be avoiding this $7,600, $7,500 range altogether.
I'm probably not going to use Seabez at 20%. I'm good with fading that.
Oh, okay. So, okay. Yeah. I wouldn't do that either.
So
I like it.
Yeah. So the only guys I really have started right now from the $7,000 range, McNeely, Connors, Wolff. In those, I mean, McNeely I'll probably go pretty heavy on, but the other 2 are just kind of fringier plays. And I like Tigala. I really like Troy Merritt. I'll use a ton of Troy Merritt. Martin Laird at 7,000. And you want to talk about being a sucker. I am a sucker for Thomas Peters.
Are you?
Yeah.
Usually not. The Amish Troy call is interesting. I'm usually on to Troy Merritt, but he did not pop for me at all here. I might have to dig into that a little bit. I think I'll probably look at Laird and not Laird, sorry, Lanto, and maybe some Keegan. I might roll Keegan down here.
Let's see. Arnold Palmer Invitational for Troy Merritt. 3 starts, 24th, 56th, and 3rd for him. He rolls it well on these greens, man, every single time. And the rest of his game is kind of coming around.
Yeah. I mean, I like Troy. I didn't see that. I don't see this as a Troy course, but he must hit his long irons well. I don't know.
He does. He's been hitting his long irons really well. 22nd in this field over the past 36 rounds, so not horrible by any means. Munoz, number 1 in that category, by the way.
Yeah. That's why. I guess that's why you said he's gonna be talked up. He's definitely coming around. Man, he burns me too when I play him though. A chalky Munoz I'll avoid as well. If he's like 15%, 10%, I don't know, who knows. But 15%, I would stay away from that.
You might get him. You might get him at 10% because everyone's going to see that he's chalk, and then by the time Wednesday comes around, it's going to be like, well, I can't use a chalky Munoz, and then no one uses him. That happens every single week to like 3 guys.
That is true, and the other thing is though, there are 2 players at 6,900 that I like almost as much as, well, probably as much as Sebastian Munoz. So depending on where they fall, I may just do that.
Well, let's talk about them. Let's talk about the 6Ks. If you say fucking Ricky Fowler, you're out of your mind.
Nope. But I think you tend to like this guy a lot too. Carlos Ortiz is 6,900 for me.
So
I'll take it.
So you're taking Ortiz and Putnam?
Yep. Is that the 2 popular plays?
No. I saw this. Yep. I saw the same thing with Putnam you did.
Yep. Putnam and Ortiz for me. That's it. And I don't love this range. I have one more play in the 6K range. It's down at the low 6s. That also tends to be a popular name on your show, but I don't love this spot. I think I will stick with Ortiz and Putnam and likely won't go too much lower other than maybe a sprinkle or 2 of this one guy down lower.
I don't see anyone in the 6K range pushing any sort of ownership at all.
Yeah. I was tempted by Hogard last week, and that did not work out.
I'll play. I mean, Putnam. Wise is right there too. Like Wise should be good, but there's something wrong with him at the moment.
What is going on with him?
Who knows? Higo, I am most definitely playing because I love Garrick Higo.
You love him.
He's great. He's won me some money, man. He won me some money.
You love Higo. Well, Svensson. Everybody's gonna hop on Svensson. I would assume he'd be a popular play down here. Obviously, the ball striking clinic he put on last week. Sam Ryder's been playing hot. My boy Pat Perry loves Sam Ryder. Lee Hodges is an interesting one that I don't, obviously played good last week. It's shocking to see Cam Davis at $6,600 right now. I love Cam. He has a special place in my heart, hitting him at 150 to 1. That one kind of shook me to see him down here, but there's some good names down here for sure.
Yeah, and we're both playing Danny Willett, like you mentioned, at $6,400.
There it is. Danny Willett.
Yep, I already bet him. I bet him at 250 to 1. I like Pendrith too. Like I really think that Pendrith is sort of like the homeless man's Cam Young at this point. They're going to be top 10 in driving for the week. Young putts. Actually, Pendrith putts just as well as Cam Young. Cam Young hits his irons far more consistently than Pendrith does.
Yeah. I could also see myself getting tempted. I see another name down here that you love, but I could see myself getting tempted by Grayson Sigg again, despite him burning me last week. The ball striking's been coming around for Sigg. He's a grainy Bermuda boy. He really is. Last week he lost 4 shots around the green. Like that is awful. That's hard to do. And the ball striking is still, the approach play was still decent. Wasn't great, wasn't off the charts, but it was decent. I like Sigg as possibly a bounce back here.
Okay. Remember when everyone had him at Pebble Beach and the only time they cut to him on TV is when he 4-putted from 5 feet?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you expect? It's PGA Tour coverage, buddy.
Yeah. All I'm seeing, Aaron Rye rates out fantastically. If you're just running numbers, Aaron Rye is going to pop off the charts at this course. But, Matt Wallace has an awesome course history. He's playing, absolute dog shit at the moment. So I don't know how much that's going to influence anything. But I mean, I went with him last week and he sucked, and now he's $6,300. Swafford had a bad round. People have bad rounds.
I was on him too last week, and I was getting a lot of shit in the Nut Hut last week for my Hudson Swafford call. But I mean, the dude does check a ton of boxes all the time.
It was one round. He was fine on Friday.
Yep. And what was it I saw floating around? I was on Twitter. Somebody posted, and I don't even remember the player. But basically, was it Davis Riley last week? He hit one shot in the water, and it cost him, I don't know, his stroke gain approach numbers went down through the floor. He lost a stroke and a half or something on that one swing. So that crap can happen and throw something off big time in your models or whatever it is. So I'm with you. I tend to like Hudson Swafford. I've hit him as an outright. He's one of those that won me some money too. So I tend to be on that when it's here.
Yeah, and if you want your stars and scrubs lineup like Willett, Pendrith, and Hudson Swafford are probably the way that you want to go. Then my numbers love Nick Watney again. I don't know if I can go back to that. Used him last week. He was pretty good. Made a cut. I think he finished inside the top 25, but this is a much stronger field and a much longer course. Although, once again, numbers do like Pat Perez. I don't know if I can do that, though.
I'm out on him. No, I think I've named everybody. I mean, Sig is one, Swafford is one, Willett for sure, and then Ortiz and Putnam. But I don't see really going much lower than Ortiz and Putnam for the most part.
Yeah. So how many guys? I only have 17 guys start, although none of those guys are above $10,000 right now. So make 50 lineups with add one or two more guys in. Have like a 20-person pool for 50 lineups. Should be good to go, I think. Yeah. Hopefully I get the right combos and we don't donk it all away. Time for everyone's favorite. Oh, what's that?
I was gonna say it's got to be hard for you because like your show drives ownership. Like, and so then the players that you star that pop up for you, and then you talk about them on the show, you got to know that shit. Thousands of people are playing these guys because I talked about them on my show. And then what do?
I just play them anyway and don't win.
Okay, good. You've been doing that for how long? 7-8 years now?
7-8 years, yeah. That's the DraftKings, they pay me, but then I give all the money back. So we should
really all
win-win.
Just band together as
win-win.
A community. Yeah, next week for the players, we should all just band together as a community and commit that next week is Pat Mayo week, and we are not playing a single player that you mentioned. No matter what, we're not playing them. So you'll have all the ownership, and then you'll know like this was all me. I ran my model. I picked my players. I did it. All my thousands of followers and fans faded these guys on my behalf to let me, run away with it if I could. And if they suck, you're going to be screwed. If they play great, you had your leverage and you're going to win all the monies.
I don't think, since Martin Keimer won the players, I don't think that I've even had a 4 of 6 at the players. Like, I should really not play the play. Every year, I have a note in my notes that just says, don't play this stupid event. And every year, I'm like, oh, there's a millionaire maker. I'm going to put like $1,000 in and just get $0 back.
It's such a big event. You don't want to not play the players, Pat. Like you got to play so
bad at it. So bad.
Have your older son, like have Wolf make your lineups for you.
He'll probably take Matthew Wolf.
Have your wife do it.
Okay.
She'll
probably also see Wolf and take Matthew Wolf.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. You apparently love Wolf, so take him. You want him for next week anyway.
That's true. I want him this week.
But let them fill out all the rest of the lineups. Let them do all the rest. That way you still have a sweat. You still, you're still watching, you're exposed, but you're not shooting your own self in the foot.
I think that you are giving my viewers, too much. You're not giving them enough credit. They know to watch the show and not use who I use. That way they can win. That's what most people do.
I don't know. I think the Pat Mayo experience drives a lot of ownership. So some of them are doing that. Maybe the ones that have been listening for a long time, but maybe the new ones, I don't know.
Let's go over to DraftKings right now. Obviously, you can play in the Pat Mayo Experience Listeners League. Link is down in the description. The only way that you can get your hands on that link, unless you people are passing it around, and if so, go fuck yourselves. You need to click on the show. I need those clicks and downloads. You click on the show to go get the link, okay? Additionally, we can play the best plays this week. So we're trying to make like the chalkiest lineup possible. What's going to be the most common build this week? I think everything runs through Rory when it comes to ownership this week. So I think he's the first guy in our lineups.
I did see a lot of early talk. We didn't talk a lot about Hovland, but I felt like on Twitter Sunday and Monday there was a lot of talk on Hovland. You don't think there's going to be a lot of action there? Not
versus Rory. Like Hovland will draw the same as Scheffler. He'll draw the same as Hideki. He'll draw the same as Sungjae. Zalatoris will probably be up pretty high, but like Rory is the one to rule them all, I think.
So then if you're going to go Rory, I think the common build is going to be Rory and Willie Z.
Rory, Will Z. Okay. We throw Will Z in there. Your boy Killa Keith or Casey?
Mitchell. Yep. No, I think Mitchell.
All right, Mitchell it is. Mitchell at 81. So now we're at $7,100. That means Munoz is in this lineup.
Yeah.
So Munoz is in. We got $7,200 for 2 spots.
and we're trying to build the chalkiest lineup.
Chalkiest lineup, or just like with the most. We're trying to figure out like the best plays. So who
Does
have
Lonto
people
go in there?
Yeah, I think that Lonto most definitely goes in here, and I think that gets us up enough to get like Cam Young in. Let's see. Now we're at 7,300. There's no one at. I guess Hoagie is right there.
Yeah.
Is there anyone we could drop down to below? No, not really. Munoz seems to be like the stopping point for everyone. So you could go.
Is Lonto projected lower owned than Hoagie right now?
No. Lonto is actually projected to be the highest of those three.
Yeah.
But if you could get to Cam Young, well, how much is Mitchell? Mitchell's 81. Yeah, and there's no one really right there. You could actually take Mitchell out of this lineup if you wanted to. You could take Mitchell out and put in Seabez.
Yep.
And now at 77, you can afford another $7,700 if you wanted to. So you can, I mean, no one's going to use Rose. No one's probably going to use Connor or Power. But then you have your choice of Kirk, List, or Cameron Young. Probably Cameron Young or Luke List.
Yep.
Which one?
I think so.
Where do you think more people go, List or Cam Young? Young, right?
I think they're going to go Young, just based on his TV time recently, his recent play. They're going to look at Luke Smith's cut. Even though he's going to rate out well in the stats, I think it'll probably be Cameron Young.
So that leaves it Rory, Zalatoris, Bezadenhout, Munoz, Lonto, and Cameron Young is the best plays lineup this week. It's going to be very popular.
Yeah, for sure.
Although
Put that in the cash lineup, right, Pat?
I mean, that would mean I'd have to allocate some budget towards cash games, which I'm not going to do.
Yeah.
I just don't like.
Same.
Is it fun to play cash games? I don't get it.
No, I think people. I don't know what it is. I haven't played cash games either since like 2017. But the people that come, I'm telling you, they are in our DMs and comments all the time about cash plays. Maybe it's people that just, they just want to win something. You know what I mean? Like you have to, because if you're playing tournaments, like you are very content not winning at all. Right?
Yes. I've gotten
there
used to that.
There are people out there. Yeah, there are people out there that. Sure, would it be nice to win, $100,000? Great, yeah. But they just want to win something. They just want to get a little bit of that green screen disease. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what it is.
I can see it. I don't know. It's like the people who bet like top 40s on guys that are like minus 120. Like that's not
that
why.
Drives me nuts.
That's not. It doesn't drive me nuts. I get why you're making the bet because you're getting good odds. I'm not betting golf to bet minus 120. I'm just not doing it.
No. That's why I think it drives me nuts. Because I think it's stupid. I would not do that. I love betting top 20s, but top 40s, because you're going to get the minus 130, Willie Z's or whatever. I'm not going to do that. That's just dumb.
Do you want the Skylar Hoke bet of the week?
What's the Skylar Hoke bet of the week? He was on Sep Straka with Pat.
He was. Sky's good, man. Sky and Tom on the DP World Tour Picks and Bet show. They would actually win money on that show.
I love Tom.
People should listen to that show. I'm not gonna lie to you. So this is the guy this week. He's 2,500 to 1. You ready for this?
What tournament is this?
The Magical Kenya Open.
Oh yeah, okay. Oh, the DP World. Okay, yeah.
So Robson Chinhoy is the guy.
Okay.
2,500 to 1. He has won 4 of his past 8 starts, and I believe they've all been at this course. On the Africa tour or something. Sky did all the research. He sent it along to me. I'm going to collect like 60 grand here, I think.
You know what I just noticed too? When I got put in a tweet, we got put in a tweet with Sky. Sky doesn't follow the Tour Junkies.
What a jerk.
What an asshole, right? And we follow him. We've been following him.
I don't think he's the most active on Twitter. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah. Well, good for him on the Sep Straka hit. And I guess, for a 2,500 to 1, I'll tail Mr. Choi, whatever that is. I'll throw a few bones on that for sure. Yeah.
Robinson Chinhoy. He's also, if you want to talk about the top 40 market, he's 8 to 1 for a top 40.
See, why are more people not betting on golf? Like, this is just, I see it all over the internet, right? You're sweating these NBA games and all this shit. Like, God, people are missing out. You're just missing out.
I'm with you.
An 8 to 1 top 40?
8 to 1 top 40 on the DP World Tour of a guy legitimately no one's ever heard of.
The Skylar Hoke lock?
Lock of the week. He guarantees it 2,500 to 1. My words, not his.
Done. I will be busting a unit on Mr. Choi thanks to Skylar.
What do you got going on this week? When's the next
Dude,
TJ show?
It's the first full-time DB week, so that's what we're doing. I'm about to do a little head-to-head matchup discussion here. I'm loving some head-to-heads. I love betting plus money head-to-heads or some of the lesser-known players because I think sometimes the betting markets don't pay as much attention to those guys. So we're doing that. We got the emails going out, the Chalk Bomb email. You can subscribe to that on our website, tourjunkies.com. Scroll to the bottom right of any page on the website. You can get the Chalk Bomb sent to your inbox for free every week. I think it's one of the boldest calls of the week. It pays off sometimes it doesn't. And actually, I'm excited about next week for the players. I will be there. I'll be there Tuesday and Wednesday of the players getting some intel, around.
You know they don't play those days, right?
I know. That's
okay.
why.
I just wanted to make sure. You didn't.
I'm a man of the
that.
people, Pat. I'm going before lineup lock, right? And before you get all your outright bets in, I'm going to go find out some scoop on some stuff, right? So I'll be conveying all of that in the Nut Hut, which is our Discord server. And me and Pat are going to actually get to do a show together on Monday night. I'll be at Pat's house on Monday night. We don't get to do that a lot. So I'm excited about that. We'll probably get deep into Tito's and have a banger of an evening.
All right. That will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Follow DB on Twitter at Tour Junkies and subscribe to the Tour Junkies podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, just like you should do to the Pat Mayo Experience podcast. Rate and review 5 stars, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Help us out that way. Smash the like, sub to the channel, sub to the newsletter, play in the Listeners League, and fantasynational.com/Mayo to do your own research, to generate your lineups, and look at that simulator. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!